Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds. I work specifically with avoidant attached individuals who are dismissive attached or fearful avoidant that's dismissive leaning. So that's just something to keep in mind. I do work with individuals, couples, and sometimes families. So I see a lot of dynamic relationships with these attachment issues. And one thing I do notice is my perception and a lot of individuals who are avoidantly attached or who work with them or who are married to them, whatever is your situation, a lot of you guys in the comments, I recognize that some of you guys do have healthy relationships and know how to love an avoidant individual. And you guys know that it can be very simple. But there are other individuals who are very confused and do not find it simple at all and find it very confusing. So today I wanted to go over some aspects as to how to make that process more simple so that as the years go on in your relationship, in your marriage, it will just be so much easier for you and it'll be like second nature, like driving, like something very simple where you and your partner can just communicate very cleanly, lovingly, and just both of you will get your needs met. But before I do, I want to talk about some myths as to how to love an avoidant. And we're going to start with a little bit of a story. This happened kind of recently and it was on my mind, which actually inspired me to make this video. So I was at an event and I talked to some, I guess, colleagues we don't work together, but we've had a lot of overlap in our education and field practices, residencies, etc. And so these are individuals I know. And one individual in particular, she's senior to me, has a lot of knowledge. She actually works with mostly postpartum depression, which is very interesting. It's very different from my caseload. But sometimes what happens in our community and a lot of therapists, individuals who have different specializations, sometimes we refer patients to another. So let's say I'm working with an individual or a couple and they had a kid and there's, I noticed that the wife had, some postpartum depression. So I'll refer it to her, right? And maybe she's working with an individual who's struggling with that and she realizes maybe the husband has, anger or detachment or is unable to engage. And so she will refer that to me. And so sometimes we help families out in this direction. And so that's why a lot of times therapists who are close with one another actually have different specializations, just a random thing. And so I was at this event and me and her were talking about something. And actually, interesting enough, we ran into a video on YouTube and I genuinely do not really know who this person is, but they kind of said that they were some dating coach or something, which I don't judge. So please don't think I'm judging individuals who are unlicensed, just people trying to share advice, whatever. But what I did notice about this particular person, and again, I don't remember who it is. I've never seen them before, and I don't really look about stuff like that. But he was a person who is not licensed, doesn't have education in the field, and he was talking. It was a long video, and I didn't watch all of it. But my colleague was like, "Oh my God, like this can be kind of detrimental for relationships because some things he's saying is not literally accurate at all." He was talking about like the science of he was talking about like neurological issues, which is incorrect. He was labeling attachment issues from a neurological standpoint, which it is not necessarily. And he was talking about how like receptors are blocked, which is also not correct, at least not from an overall standpoint. And it was kind of something that both of us were like, oh, that's unfortunate. Like people can post anything, which is fine. You can, everyone has that right. But the way he talked about avoidant individuals was the most frightening to me. And he was trying to help people. So it's not like he was trying to hurt anybody. But the way I took it, I don't feel like it didn't really inspire much confidence on my perspective. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring up, and not picking on this particular video. I'm sure a lot of people perceive it that way. And I don't blame individuals, especially if they don't have the education and they don't have the ability. Like, it's not their fault. So I'm not blaming this YouTuber necessarily. But what happened was he was explaining like how to, I guess, love an avoidant or something like that. I wasn't really keen on that. There's a lot of other things going on as well, but like in general in the event. But what ended up happening was he was explaining how to love this person. And some of the words he said was a little bit unfortunate. He was saying like avoidants don't know what they're saying. They don't know how to love. Like, I know you want connection. It was like very drawing in. And he was saying like, they don't know and they've never experienced that. And they don't always know what to do. And, you know, you have to help them and you have to guide them. And like, this is how to do this. And you can't say this because this is going to happen and X, Y, and Z, which possibly, but I just don't agree with that full perspective. And so there was a lot of things in there that I felt like was probably misconceptions, again, to nobody's fault, but it probably makes loving avoidance a little bit more complicated because of that. Because a lot of that I don't think is true. And as a person who also leans that direction or was that way, it's not true. And it can come across for avoidance. It's actually really offensive and it's probably the last way for them to want to love you, honestly. So the first myth I want to bring up is the assumption that avoidants don't know how to love. That's not necessarily true. Now, avoidants may need assistance on that, but so do all individuals who are insecurely attached. Even those who are securely attached also may not know how to love. Love is something that is researched heavily. I mean, some research in the subject of love is like 40 years long. Like, nobody knows how to love necessarily. Love is something you learn and you grow together and teach each other. So saying an avoidant specifically does not know how to love creates a power dynamic, which if you want to trigger an avoidant, that's how you do it. You act like they're dumb and they don't know what they're talking about. And this video in particular, and probably a lot, not picking on this video specifically, but they were talking as if it's like they are dumb and they're an infant. They don't know how to love. Like, that's not their fault. It's not their fault, but you can treat them like a person. Like, you guys communicate like adults. It's not that they don't know how to love. They know how to love. Let's say the alphabet. This is a weird example. I'm just kind of all over the place, probably a little annoyed. Let's say all the letters of the alphabet is needed in the ingredients to know how to love. Maybe the avoidant knows the first half and then you know the other, or not the half, but the first portion of the letters, and then you know the other portion. So you both need to put it together to know how to love. But from your perspective, you think only, not your perspective, but the person's perspective who thinks avoidants don't know how to love, your perception is that you know how to love, right? That's not true. Nobody fully knows how to love. Love is something you learn together. Every person has a different formula for what they need for love, but putting those things together is how you're going to fully know how to love. So no, it's not that avoidants don't know how to love. They don't know how to love you, but you also don't know how to love them. You don't know how to love each other. That's what a relationship is. That's part of how you learn. So that's the first myth. Avoidants do know how to love. They know how to love themselves. They don't know how to love you, but you don't know how to love them either, okay? So it's the first one. The second one, and this one probably bothers me the most because this is just not true. And every avoidant individual probably understands why this is so bothersome because it's exactly why they do not open up, okay? A lot of individuals think avoidants don't know what they want. And that video specifically, but any video, I'm sure, was like, oh, you know, he doesn't know what he wants, or she, I think it was specific about avoidant men, but it was like, he doesn't know what he wants, or, you know, they don't know love. Like, they were neglected. They were hurt neurologically. They can't X, Y, and Z, and it's not a neurological issue. Like, that's not. ADHD is a leans neurological, likely, right? Based on our research. But of what? Attachment issues do not lean that way. It's a childhood. It comes from childhood. You put them in a different environment, it will not happen. Like, that doesn't make sense. But anyways, they were saying they don't know what they want and you have to teach them and it's not their fault. Yeah, not their fault, but they're also not a child. They can take responsibility. Avoidants do know what they want. You just don't. You may not necessarily agree with it, but that is what they want. When they tell you, I think a lot of people say when avoidants want, you know, they say they want space and they actually don't. They do, and maybe they're using the wrong words, but what they want is peace and space and security, just like most people. They just have a different ratio of it, right? But they do know what they want. Their ratio is just different. Avoidants want what you want. They just have a different ratio of how it's met, right? I think there's another commenter that I was briefly commenting on. As far as I am aware, based on their comments, they're also dismissively avoidant. And they were saying on one of my videos, oh, you know, this is, you know, amazing. Like, doesn't everybody want this? And I mentioned to them, everybody does, but most individuals want a different ratio. This person wants this specific thing, which I listed in the video, which most avoidants want. Anxious individuals want more, leaning another way. They want more reassurance. They want more security. They want more, predictability. Avoidants want that too, but they prefer more strongly respect, love, consistency, truth, like certain values that avoidants have that may just lean a little differently. But let's just say every person, most people want the same things. They just want different amounts of them. And so avoidants do know what they want. When they tell you that they don't want to go to the birthday party, they're telling you what they want. They really don't. They may go for you, but they are telling you they don't want to. They don't want to go to the birthday party. They don't want to eat the food that you made, not because they don't like it, maybe because they're just not hungry. They don't want to go to your friend's wedding because they don't know this person. And you might want to because you want to show everybody they're in a relationship. To them, they could care less. And so they do know what they want. It's just not what you want. And that's okay. You both can compromise. But it's important to recognize when an avoidant is telling you something, it's not they don't know what they're saying. Some avoidants, and this is true, actually most avoidants, let me correct that. When they're angry, they do crash out and they say things that they don't mean. That is true. And I won't deny that. But overall, if they consistently say the same thing, right now, that's what they want. Avoidants can change their mind just like you can. Avoidants are human. Maybe in the first year or two, they don't want a label. And then in 3 years, they get married to you. That happens all the time. But that's not because they didn't know what they want. That's because they changed, right? And so I think that's just important to recognize. The other thing is the other one that I want to address. And then we'll kind of go into the truths of how to make loving and avoidant just more simple because it's becoming so noisy. I don't know why. But avoidant individuals, a lot of people think they don't know how they feel. I will want to say a lot of people don't know how they feel. So yes, there's some truth to this, but it's not as truthful as a lot of people think. From an avoidance perspective, an anxious person doesn't know how they feel either. So it's a perception, right? So I want to paint a picture, and I'm not picking on anxious individuals, so please don't think that way. It's nobody's fault. Like this is to help everybody, whoever gets help. And I know people are going to crash out in the comments, do what you got to do, but I'm not picking on anxious people, okay? Let's say an anxious person is like, you never listen to me, you don't care, you ignore me. Let's just say that's what they're saying. That does not give any instructions about how you feel. And an avoidant individual will say, okay, so from an avoidance perspective, you're saying you don't like me, you don't want me. Okay, I'm going to leave. That's what it sounds like to an avoidant. That we think, avoidance, and I lean that way as well, avoidance, they think that you don't know how you feel because that's what it sounds like to us. And you might not know because what you're asking, I'm guessing and thinking, and what I'm aware of now is that you're asking for them to give you more love and attention. But you didn't say that. You think you said that, but you did not say that. And that's okay. Just like how avoidant individuals, sometimes they will say something similarly complex that you don't understand, but they think is a no-brainer, right? But that doesn't mean neither of you necessarily don't know how you feel. You just don't know how to translate how you feel, even to yourself sometimes. But there is some truth to that, but not entirely. Hope that makes sense. I'm just kind of explaining things. I'm not trying to make a very polished video, especially not today. So those are kind of the myths about avoidant individuals. So how can we make loving and avoidant more simple? Well, there's no manual. However, I'm going to try my best to break certain aspects up so that you remember. And so it's a little bit easier because I want it to be as simple as possible because the bottom line is I make these videos so that people can love each other better. So that you guys can find love with each other. And I want everybody as happy as possible in their relationships. No matter who you are, I'm not picking on anybody. I want you guys happy. I don't care how you get there, but I'm trying my best to help you, okay? The first one is how to make loving and avoidant more simple. Avoidants tell you how they are feeling, and not respecting that is the best way to push them away. Now, I'm going to break this up just a little bit. When an avoidant is calm and they tell you something, that doesn't mean it's permanent. A lot of people take it black or white. Either they don't mean that at all or they mean it 100%. Avoidants are human, right? If they're saying they don't want commitment or they don't want to get married, right now, like this very moment when they're saying that they don't want to get married. But that can change tomorrow. It probably won't, but it can. It can change in 5 years. Now it probably will. But take what they say, but don't take it black or white. I think the reason why people take it black and white instead of the gray area is because anxious individuals, and it's okay, tend to perceive things with the fear of uncertainty. And so they want something very certain. And so when an avoidant individual says, I don't want to get married, they're just saying now. And they may never want to get married, okay? That's true. That's possible as well. But nobody can predict the future, not even an avoidant. Like nobody can. So when they're saying that, just take it as it is right now. I don't want to go to the birthday party. That's just that they're telling you that. I don't want to wear that. It's uncomfortable. They're just telling you, I don't like those shoes. They make me feel X, Y, and Z. They're telling you, I don't want to do this. They may still do it, but don't be upset that they're doing it and they don't want to. That's how they feel. And it's important to recognize, accept what they're saying. If they're telling you you're a bit needy, they couldn't say it nicer. 100% agree with that. But they're trying to tell you something, right? Just like how you're saying they're X, Y, and Z, they're not loving, they don't care, whatever it may be, there's some truth to that. It looks like that on your perspective, right? And when they're telling you you're needy, there's some truth to that on their perspective. So meeting in the middle is best. Couples are not supposed to be against each other. You're supposed to love each other. You're on the same team. If anything, it's you against the world better than you guys against each other. I'd rather that. I don't know about you, but I'd rather you guys do that. I'm not saying isolate yourself, but you guys should be a team. The strongest team in the world should be those who are in a relationship, right? And so remember that. When an avoidant's telling you, take it as an opportunity. I can love this person and this person can love me. So that's the first one, okay? The second one is just because you don't like what you're hearing doesn't mean it has no value. Very similar. And this is for both individuals, by the way. Avoidant individuals, if your partner's telling you that you're not acting available to them, there's some truth to it. There's something that you can do to adjust. This is for both of you guys. Just because you don't agree doesn't mean there's not some truth to it, right? Your partner, let's say the partner of the avoidant, right? Let's say it's an anxious person. And they are saying, you don't listen to me. And the avoidant person will say, yes, I do. I can still hear you when I'm on my phone. But what your partner is saying is they want your undivided attention because you probably are not listening to them as much as they want to be listened to. So put your phone down and listen to them. Best option, right? There's no reason to fuss over it. It's not a big deal. Put the phone down, listen, right? Same thing. If an avoidant individual says, I don't want to wear that shirt, it's uncomfortable or it's hot and I don't feel comfortable wearing it. I know it's probably more polished or better for the party or whatever, but I don't like it. They're telling you they don't like it. And you might get upset. No, you have to wear this or you have to do this. It's a black tie event, whatever it is. And they have to fit a certain criteria. Okay, maybe they'll do it. Maybe they won't. But they are telling you they don't like it. Just respect that that's the way they do things. You might not like it, but that's the way they do things. You said take out the trash. Actually another comment brought this up, and it's more common with fearful avoidance. And this person was a fearful avoidant. They're saying they are going to do it, but they do it in a very specific way. They don't want to get their clothes dirty. So common, right? They will do it, just not this very instant, but they're going to do it. Trust what they're saying, right? Just because you don't like what they're hearing, what they're doing, doesn't mean there's no value. I will take out the trash. I have a system, right? So try to understand the value of what they're saying. You don't have to agree. But just understand and treat them as though it has value, right? Because otherwise you are just treating them like they're less than. And it's going to hurt the relationship. Remember, on the same team. There is no battle of power. Together as a team is the most important way for this relationship to move forward, okay? The next one is avoidants who care for you will show you change in a connected direction, even just a little bit. This is the truth. Avoidants who care, they do change. If your partner is not changing at all, maybe they do not care, maybe they're not ready, maybe they're not healed properly, but the relationship will likely suffer. Avoidants who care about you will show some change. Even the first 6 months, even the first year, there's going to be some compromise. There's always a little bit because every individual in the world, no matter how broken and hurt you are, if the relationship is set to do well, typically, of course, it can change later, but you likely need a lot. It'll be harder, right? But if you want a relationship that's more smoother and cleaner and simpler, likely if your partner changes in the beginning, just a little bit, that's a sign. And you as well, both you guys, right? Making a little bit of compromise. Of course, it can be more complicated. It might not be that way. I work with so many couples where there's like almost no change. That's why they're in my office. Most of them are like that, right? They've been together for like 15 years. We got to fix it now. But I'm telling you right now, that is the opposite of simple. I can do it. It's my job. That's what we're supposed to do as a team, as the couple and me, but it's not simple, okay? So if you want it more simple, understand that this is part of that, okay? The next one is, and this is something that everybody's got to remember, everybody crashes out, even avoidance, okay? Avoidance will crash out when they're mad, say things they don't mean, they make mistakes. They're human too. Don't hold it against them. Don't, ingrain it in your head. Just move on. Just like you want them to move on from your mistakes, they want you to move on from theirs, okay? Respect them, love them, treat them well. They are going to do the same and vice versa. Now, I'm not saying that's always the case. That's the ideal scenario, right? But as you guys treat each other better, part of that is also just letting go of the little things, right? They're going to say things they don't mean. It is what it is, right? The next thing is you can learn from them too. Both you guys can learn from each other. Avoidant individuals, their values are sometimes they're different from anxious individuals. Avoidant individuals, they do value certain things that are just they're not as valuable to anxious people. It's okay, but you guys can meet in the middle. Anxious people, they like certain values. A common one that anxious individuals have that most avoidant individuals just do not have is social media. And let me explain. A lot of anxious individuals really like to post their partner on social media, like posting it on Instagram or and tagging their partner or wanting their partner to like their videos. Their stories or their pictures, whatever it is. And avoidant individuals just don't do that. A lot of them are really not on social media that much. Avoidant individuals are usually they have one or two pictures on their social media, them or maybe their dog or something, and they have barely any followers and they follow barely anybody. Avoidant individuals just are not completely engaged in social media. Now, fearful avoidants tend to be more, but some dismissive avoidants just don't. Some of them do. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them don't. And so you can learn from that, right? You can learn that maybe keeping your relationship a little bit more private can really help. But then at the same time, avoidant individuals can learn to be a little bit more vocal about how they feel about you. So it's a give and take. So that's just an example, but you can learn from each other, okay? And the next one is if you respect them and provide space for them and understand what they're wanting, their values as well, they will cherish you. Hear them out. Learn to love them the way they want to be loved, and that's your specific partner. But I have a lot of videos on that in general, and you are consistent with that, they will cherish you. Appreciate them. Tell them you appreciate them. Hear what they're saying and show that you can change as well, okay? Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.